more, I'm joined by Olivier Farry from our International Affairs Desk. Oliver, it's no surprise, really, that Iran responded to that attack from Israel.
Yeah, they didn't really have a choice. I mean, objectively, any country would have done it, like, regardless of the merits of their cause. The Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader, said we will not allow them, Israel, to escape safely from this great crime they committed. There were 78 people killed and 320 injured in that attack early on Friday morning on Tehran. Now, we don't really know how far Iran will go. It may be just a symbolic response. They will try to cause some damage to Israel just to simply show that they will fight back. They did this twice last year after previous attacks on Iranian interests, or at least on Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran last year. So it's simply just getting a response in. They probably can't sustain it for too long. We don't actually know how weakened they have been. They have suffered some damage to their aviation and their military installations over the past 24 hours. But certainly, probably Israel knows how much it has damaged them. As Noga was saying there, Mossad has developed a fairly impressive intelligence network within Iran, which is quite remarkable. It's probably not completely surprising, given that there are quite a few Israelis of Iranian Jewish ancestry, so they probably are able to infiltrate more easily than we would expect. But so we don't really know whether Iran might actually cut its losses and sort of maybe not sue for a ceasefire, but probably privately hope that the United States puts a little bit of pressure on Benjamin Netanyahu and gets the two sides either to lay down their arms, and also the United States, the Trump administration, wants to get its nuclear talks up and running. They're not even suspended as of yet. They're theoretically going ahead this weekend. Steve Witkoff is going to be in Oman for them, but we don't actually know whether the Iranians will show up for that. They say they're meaningless while they're under attack, but they haven't said that they won't be going either.
So it sounds like Iran has incentive, not to continue escalating. What about Israel? How far might they go?
Well, Israel, again, theoretically, would love to go all the way. They would love to have regime change. Benjamin Netanyahu told Iranian people to rise up. That may well be wishful thinking. It's a dangerous thing for Iranian people to do, especially at this time, and also that Iranians, just because they don't particularly like the regime that many of them see themselves as suffering under, doesn't mean that they would want to do the bidding of a foreign power either. Anyone when they're under attack will feel a certain amount of resentment. Israel has done similar with Palestinians in Gaza, urging them to rise up against Hamas, and we've seen there that there's not a huge appetite for that while bombs are raining down on the people there. However, Iran will probably try to continue to degrade Israel will try to degrade Iran's nuclear capabilities over the coming weeks. Netanyahu said that this was only the beginning. So there may be a sort of a graduated series of strikes. They certainly seem to know where to hit and know how to damage Iran. But there are also problems. They've hit the enrichment facility at Natanz, but the one at Fordo does seem to be undamaged, and that is significant at this moment.
Israel does seem to have some limits. The former Prime Minister Ehud Barak said that the country alone can delay Iran's nuclear program longer than a month or so. The implication there being that they're going to need the United States to step in and help them.
That's right. And in that instance, he was specifically referring to the enrichment facility at Fordo, which is close to the religious capital of Qom. Now, most of those facilities are well underground, which need large bombing capabilities from the United States to step forward for that. There's very little sign, even under the Trump administration, that Washington would be willing to do that. If we turn the clock back 20 years, there would have been a large constituency, and a very influential one in Washington, that would have been quite happy to bomb Iran. In fact, John McCain, in his run for presidential election in 2008 was advocating bombing Iran, in a rather flippant way in his campaign speeches. But that has changed quite a bit on both sides of the aisle in Washington. There are still certainly people that would be quite happy to attack Iran. The United States would love to see the back of the Islamic Republic regime in Iran, but they also know that it's probably better for regional stability just now to try and get at least Iran's nuclear program scaled back or stunted, so to speak, which is what the Obama administration did 10 years ago. And now the Trump administration, after initially abandoning that 2015 agreement, has now decided it may not be a bad thing at all. Also at play is the fact that Iran's proxies are greatly reduced and greatly harmed in the region. We've seen it with Hamas in Gaza and also Hezbollah. Israel effectively decapitated Hezbollah last autumn. We also saw that Hezbollah, after most of its leadership was taken out, didn't really give any response. They more or less took an unconditional ceasefire, and significantly in response to yesterday's attacks, Hezbollah said it would not be launching any rockets into Israel. So Iran is probably pinned down, so to speak. So Washington will probably think that it's going to have to perhaps see what the best deal is. Ideally, they would love to see the Islamic Republic gone, but that's probably not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, we'll have to keep monitoring the response coming out of Washington. Oliver, thank you so much for that. As always, that's Oliver Farry from our International Affairs Desk.